Think about how you've positioned your hands, softening the fingers, turning the palms up towards the ceiling. And we'll just check in with any tension that you may have brought into the session today. Sometimes we'll find tension in the forehead, at the temples. Sometimes we feel that tension in the neck, in the shoulders. You might be conscious of discomfort in the lower back. So make any adjustments that you need to ensure that the back feels fully supported, that you can allow the weight of your body to sink, to release a little more deeply into the earth beneath you. Reminding yourself to soften the jaw, the temples, relaxing the tongue in the well of the mouth, creating a little space between the lips, and maybe nodding the chin a little closer to the chest, just to afford that extra length to the back of the neck and that nice soft release between the shoulders. Take a deep breath in through the nose. Breathe out through the mouth. A deep breath in through the nose. Slightly noisier release through the mouth. A further deep breath in through the nose, this time releasing the breath with an audible sigh. Through that sigh, consider that a message to the body that we're letting go of tension, returning the breath to a natural, easy rhythm, preparing to charge the body for the work of our practice today. Every inhalation, sending positive energy to the parts of the body that need it most, effectively waking us up, revitalizing the body. Inhaling deeply, exhaling fully, and reminding ourselves of that natural, deep yogic breath. Through the work of the postures today, finding comfort and balance with the breath will help us to hold particularly the standing postures a little longer. So make sure that you come to the end of each inhalation, that we fully empty the lungs with each exhalation, and that we're mindfully expanding the breath beyond the top third of the lungs. Inhaling to fill the lungs completely, exhaling to empty the lungs fully. Directing the breath to the belly, the chest, and the collarbones. Releasing from the collarbones, the chest, and the belly last. Visualizing filling a balloon from the bottom up. Emptying that balloon from the top down. Just taking a rare moment of quiet here. Enjoying that sense of stillness. Remaining aware of your space within the room that surrounds you. The connection through the back of your body. Feeling the energy from the earth, charging your body. Take a deep breath in through the nose. Exhaling again through the mouth. Then start to draw the breath back to a point where you don't feel you're controlling the breath. Simply aware of in-breath following out-breath. And noticing a sensation of lightness through the front of the body, through the legs. If the knees are bent, taking a moment to extend the legs along the mat. If the legs are extended already, drawing the feet a little closer together. Then inhaling to lift both arms overhead, taking a long stretch through the body. Pressing through the fingertips of the right hand, lengthening into the side of the waist and the rib cage. Then pressing through the fingertips of the left hand, almost as though you're lifting one shoulder, then the other. Just gently squeezing a little extra space at the side of the waist. Rest the backs of the hands on the floor. Inhale to point the toes away. Exhale to flex the toes and draw the toes towards the shins. Bring the fingertips in towards the palms, making fists. Then inhale, point the toes, open the fingers. Exhale, draw that tension back in again, drawing the toes in, the fingers in. Inhale again to lengthen, opening through fingers and toes. This time on the exhale, bending the right knee in towards the chest, placing the hand on the shin, and applying gentle pressure just to ease that tightness in the lower back into the floor. Adjust the right knee, rolling that knee out towards the right shoulder. Then bring that knee back again towards center. Inhale, take a nice long length through the body, pointing through fingers and toes. Exhale, draw the left knee in. Again, a little pressure. Finding that delicious space in the lower back. Adjusting the knee out to the left side. Returning to center. Inhaling to take another length through the body. Bringing the thumbs together in an interlock, drawing the toes back in towards flexion. On an out breath, pushing the upper body to the right. And really feeling that release through the side of the waist and the rib cage. Inhale to return to center. Exhale, feet in flexion again as we push to the left and opening to the right of the waist and the rib cage. Inhale once more to return to center. Length through the full body. Then exhale to hug both knees in towards the chest. For now, we'll keep the hands rested on either the shins or the knees, almost as though we're drawing a figure of 8 above the hips, rocking from one side to the other, allowing a release here. As you roll back to center, reposition both feet on the mat, positioning the heels hip width apart, keeping the insides of the thighs parallel, turning the palms up towards the ceiling, and just finding that nice flat space behind the shoulder blades to rest the full weight of the upper body. On an out breath, draw the tummy button in. On an in breath, lift and lengthen through the right leg. Start with the foot pointed, then as you exhale, bring it into flexion. Inhale to point, exhale to flex. Inhale to point. As you come to flexion this time, push a little more keenly through the heel, draw the right hip back to the floor. Engage the core, then float the heel down to rest about an inch from the mat. Inhale to lift both arms overhead. As you exhale, bend the right knee in as you curl the upper body towards the thigh. So we're using the exhale to create this little crunch in the abdomen. It's almost as though you're pushing the lower back into the floor And we want to avoid nodding the chin to the chest, avoid putting any tension in the neck. So try to find a fixed point in the ceiling. Every out breath curling up, every in breath lengthening back. Take one further crunch up. Now position the hands in an interlock behind the thigh. It's almost as though we're kind of holding this space. Then as you exhale, gently roll down through the spine. Again, the back of the shoulders relax, the back of the head relax. Push a little more keenly through that right heel. Bring the foot to flexion and gently draw the thigh a little closer to the chest. On an out breath, bend the knee. We're going to bring the right hand to the inside of that bent knee, taking hold of either the big toe, the ankle, or perhaps wrapping the hand around the foot as you extend the left arm out to the side. Make sure the shoulders and the head remain rested back. Push through the right heel. You'll find that slightly tighter on the back of the leg, a little into the calf. Then on an out breath, we're going to transfer the stretch to the inner thigh, taking that right foot out to the right side, pushing through the heel so we feel a deeper stretch in the inner thigh, turning the head along the length of the left arm. And if you need to keep the back of the hips square, perhaps allowing that left knee to roll open so that you feel balanced and equally weighted through both sides of the body. As you exhale, draw the tummy button in and roll that foot back towards center. Bending that right knee, hugging the knee to the chest, then replacing that foot to the floor. Lift and lengthen now through the left leg. So again, we'll gently mobilize the ankle, pointing and flexing, kind of almost ironing out that little bend in the knee, coming to a deeper flexion, pushing through the heel, drawing that left hip back to the floor, mindful of the core engagement as we float that left heel down to rest an inch from the mat. Inhaling to lift both arms overhead, repeating those little abdominal crunches on this side. So it might help you to even visualize having something the shape of a grapefruit or an orange between the chin and the chest. Don't feel that you have to grab hold of that object. It's just to give you an equal space so that we're not nodding the head backwards and forwards with every crunch. Out breath on the effort, in breath to realign. This time on the out breath, keeping the sternum lifted, coming to that interlock again behind the thigh, then gently rolling down. Feeling the backs of the shoulders release, the back of the head release. Pushing again through the left heel as you straighten that left leg, drawing the thigh a little closer to the chest. Again, we're focusing on the hamstring here. Bending that left knee, bringing the left hand to the inside of the bent knee, extending the right arm out, pushing that left heel up towards the ceiling. Try to make sure both shoulders are released back to the floor. We kind of don't want to feel as though we're lifting to find the foot. Then on an out breath, take that left foot out to the side. Turn your gaze along the right arm. Again, if it helps, let that right knee just toggle open, just to keep the hips balanced. Pushing through that left heel, deepening the stretch to the inner thigh. Then as you exhale, draw the tummy button in. Keep that core engagement as you float the foot back to center. Bending now that left knee, hugging the knee to the chest. Let's replace that foot to the floor. And rather than coming, as we often do, into Baddha Konasana with the feet together, let's imagine that we're crossing the feet at the ankles and allowing the knees to roll out. So just notice which foot you've naturally placed on top of the other. On an inhale, take both arms overhead.
And we'll just see if we can find the space through the chest, through the shoulders, to allow the back of the hands to rest to the floor. Let's just notice if the lower back is lifting. So Sue Kerner, I could see from here, there's a little bit of space underneath your middle back. Good. So using that core engagement just gently keeps the back supported. On an out breath, float the hands back either side of the hips. Once more, turning the palms to the ceiling. And we'll just switch that leg cross over. So we'll just make the opposite foot be dominant on top. Widening the knees and allowing gravity to just find that little extra space in and around the hips and the inner thighs. Then as you exhale, once more engage the core, guide the knees towards center, reposition the feet hip width apart, full connection under the soles of the feet, feeling equally weighted here. Pressing into the feet and inhaling to lift the bottom from the mat. On the next inhalation, press the shins forward, exhaling to widen through the chest. Then on the next inhale, lift the arms overhead, once more resting the backs of the hands to the floor, pressing the shins forward, creating space from the knee through the hip to the shoulder. Then we'll take our time, starting at the space between the shoulder blades, to slowly roll the spine vertebra by vertebra back towards the mat. Now the arms are back, so it might feel a little more resistant. So if you need to release the hands to either side of the hips, then do so. Let the lower back fully soften and release. Then as you exhale, hug both knees in towards the chest. Opening the arms now into a T shape, palms turned up to the ceiling, letting the backs of the hands, the arms rest on the floor. On the exhale, take both knees to the right, turning your gaze along the left arm. Our intention in this posture is always to feel the weight of the left shoulder, so that we can open a little more cleanly into that space at the side of the rib cage, into the pectoral muscles, which we all too often hold tight. On the next out breath, draw the tummy button in, rolling the knees back towards center, taking the knees to the opposite side and shifting your focus now over the right arm. So allowing that right shoulder again to feel weighted. We want to avoid too much air underneath that shoulder. Breathing into the side of the rib cage. Exhaling again to draw the tummy button in, core supporting the weight of the legs as you roll back towards center. Position the hands either behind the thighs or on top of the shins if that's more comfortable for you, as we gently roll up into a seated position. And then we'll just roll it back 2 or 3 times, just to warm the spine. Keep it gentle. Then return to a seated position. Lovely. So one of my other students in another class had asked me to clarify a point, which I think is worth mentioning. I quite often give a teaching point of drawing the shoulder blades together, which can sound a little bit confusing really, because obviously the shoulder blades won't touch in the middle, they don't come fully together. It's just that as we get older, we tend to fall into the trap of allowing the upper body to curve. We tend to get to that stage where the weight of the head almost pulls us forward. And we actually end up becoming quite slack across these wide muscles of the back. Now, it's not unusual then that we often find that tension is going to go into the lower back because it's doing all the work. So when I talk about drawing the shoulder blades together, what I'm really trying to do is create a sense of drawing and lifting the chest so that we're engaging these muscles of the upper back rather than leaving them soft as they would normally be, but also finding that lining up the back of the head to the tailbone. So even in this position, you can feel that the collarbones are widened. We're starting to open a little more through the chest. So that's kind of why I give that teaching point. It's really to avoid us from slouching and staying in that forward position that just becomes so natural in everyday life. So as we lift up out of the sit bones, as we draw the shoulder blades together, I want to get a sense of the top of the head parallel to the ceiling. But because we've created all this lovely lightness in the upper body, let's almost feel that we're being drawn towards the ceiling. So we're lengthening the spine, we're widening through the collarbones. We'll take the right arm onto the floor, right hand onto the floor. Turn the gaze up to the middle finger of the left hand and then come over the midline of the body. So deepening the stretch into the side of the waist and the rib cage. Inhaling to lift to center. As you extend the left arm away, shift your focus to the middle finger of the right hand. I think it helps to almost bend the left elbow in towards the body, then come over the midline. It's like a diagonal line from fingertip to hip. Inhale to lift and come back towards center. Then extend both arms forward. We'll bring the hands to an interlock, starting with right forefinger over left, keeping the hands open towards the heart. So a cat stretch in a seated upright position, drawing the tummy button towards the spine, curving the spine to the back of the room, and nodding the chin towards the chest. On the inhale, lifting up out of the sit bones, turning the hands inside out, pressing the open palms up towards the ceiling, and just checking in again with that space between the shoulder blades. So under the shoulder blades, scooping them together, widening through the collarbones, pressing the palms up towards the ceiling, knees nice and soft, exhaling to engage the core, then float the hands back again to chest level. As you separate the hands, simply position the hands behind the hips. Now it might be that it's just fingertips naturally touching. We don't really want to lean all the way back and undo that goodness of nice long spine. So let's gently draw the shoulder blades together, and we're going to follow the sternum, this breastbone, as we tilt the breastbone up towards the ceiling, opening through the chest, feeling those shoulder blades really drawing together now. Then exhaling, releasing, bringing your gaze forward. Switching the leg cross over to the opposite side. Drawing the heel close to you in towards the groin, then stacking the front foot in front. Lifting up out of the sit bones, placing the hands in front of the ankles, and taking a nice easy walk forward. So we don't want to think as though we're redistributing the weight forward. You still want to feel the sit bones connected to the floor. And as you get to the full extension of leading the sternum forward, lengthening the spine, you might be better served to perhaps fold the elbows to the floor, keeping the shoulder blades drawn together. And we're back into that space that we often find a little bit challenging in the inner thighs and in and around the hips. Exhale to engage the core. Inhale to lift your gaze to the end of the fingertips, push into the palms of the hands, and gently walk back towards center. Perfect. This time, as you position both hands behind the hips, we'll give permission for that little bit of a lean back. So we're pressing the palms to the floor, but we don't want to overload the wrists. So let's press the shins forward, lifting the bottom from the mat, opening through the front of the thighs, into the belly, into the chest, wide through the collarbones. Then as you exhale, release the sit bones back to the floor. Lifting once more to center. I'm going to keep the right foot in center as we take the left foot and extend it wide. So conscious that we've only done a little bit of work so far on the hamstring, we don't want to overdo it. So if you need a little bend behind the knee, keep that little softness going. Try if you can to have the left toe pointing up to the ceiling and bring the sole of the right foot in to just rest on that inner thigh. If you feel any discomfort in the knee, if the hip perhaps feels like it's being overused, you can always use a little bit of support under the knee to help. A cushion might do. And just check in again, this thing about weight distribution. If you're over onto the right hip, then chances are we need a little bit more slack on the knee so that we can have the weight equally through both sit bones. Now bring the hands once more in front of the ankle. Lift up out of the sit bones, and as you exhale, repeat that little fold forward. Now, chances are you'll find that we can't get anywhere near as low as we did when we had the legs crossed. There's nowhere to hide. There's quite a big stretch going on here, a little bit at the back of the leg. If there's any pain in the knee, we must keep that knee lifted and away from overworking. Push down into the palms. Exhale, draw the tummy button in. As you walk back to center, we're nicely supporting the core muscles. Place the right hand behind the right hip. Bring the left hand to the right knee. We don't really want to be leaning over into this space. So again, come back to a nice centered position. Follow the rib cage. Turn your gaze over the right shoulder. And again, it's just fine tuning the nice stretch in this inner thigh. This time we're taking it a little bit away from the knee joint itself, feeling it a little higher. As you exhale, release that twist, bringing the chest forward, extending the right leg, bringing the left foot in. Now, I always feel when I switch knees that one knee is generally higher than the other. So you might have to make an adjustment in the sit bones to get back to center. Might need to play around with lifting that right toe up just to keep us nicely lengthened and aligned. Bring the hands again in front of the ankle. Make sure we're not all weighted onto the left hip. Let's bring it back to center, then start that little walk forward. We've always got one side that's slightly more flexible than the other. So don't be surprised if you can get deeper on this side or the other side. Just try not to compromise that by pushing your weight over the bent knee. That does make it easier, but it's not particularly aligning the spine. Push down into the palms again, shoulder blades drawn together. Bring the gaze to the end of the fingertips and walk the hands back towards the ankle. So now we're going to take right hand to left knee, left hand behind that hip, lifting up out of the sit bones and coming again into the twist on this side. So we're just finding a little more space to the right inner thigh. If you feel it in the groin, just try not to twist so deeply. Then bring your gaze back towards the front of the room. Bring the soles of the feet together. So this time coming into the Baddha Konasana, knees released, lifting out of the sit bones. Remember, the grip is very soft, so we don't need white knuckles. We're just gently resting the hands either around the toes or the ankles, whichever's the most comfortable fit for you. Then on and out breath, upper body weight eases forward. Again, don't be tempted to pull the feet towards the body. Just let the upper body fold into this space. Try to keep the shoulder blades drawn together. This is one of those ones where you feel you need to look up to see the screen and all it's doing is knackering the neck. So keep your focus. Just gazing beyond the front of the toes. Shoulder blades drawn together, tummy button drawn in, lifting back towards center. Good, nice work. So let's now take both legs wide. I know that I'm hammering the inner thighs, but we're going to need them for these standing postures. I'm going to remain aware of the back of the hamstrings and of any knee discomfort. So we'll keep the knees ever so slightly lifted. Place the hands in front of the body. As you exhale, start to bring the upper body weight forward. There's a temptation, I think, to lead with the chin here. Try to keep that chin nodded in and really feel that you're drawing the sternum towards the floor. And you might find a little bit of space to just relax the heels, to let that bend in the knees soften a little. Bringing the forearms towards the floor. They don't have to be on the floor. It's just something to think about. Then, so that we're keeping that nice support for the spine, engage the core, bring the gaze again to the end of the fingertips. We'll keep the palms connected to the mat as we gently walk back towards center. Good, that feels nice. We're just going to slide the feet together, coming into a Dandasana posture. So this one is often the one that's a little bit more challenging to find that straight line from the back of the head, because we'll fall back into that natural slump that we tend to have. So really consider that lift and lengthen, the shoulder blades drawn together. Bring the right knee in, place the hands in front of that shin, and kind of use that little bit of purchase to lift yourself a little more sharply into the space. Good. Keep the left hand wrapped around that right calf. Bring the right hand behind the hip. So we're just going to do another twist, lifting out of the sit bones, finding some more space in the middle back, at the side of the rib cage. Then as you exhale, release, bring that gaze forward. Extend the right leg, bring the left leg in. Again, we'll just take that extra step of lifting, drawing the knee a little closer, wrapping the right hand around the left calf. Then on the exhale, coming into the twist here. So notice that the spine stays long. We don't lean back, we don't curve. We're fully lifted out the sit bones. Then as you exhale, release, facing forward, extending both legs forward. Repositioning the hands to the side of the hips. I would suggest fingertips turned out. And again, let's try not to take all the weight back onto the wrists. So trying to keep yourself fairly upright. Folding the knees in, pushing down into the soles of the feet and lifting up into this table position. Pressing the shins forward, keeping the knees hip width apart, but not letting them roll out. Pressing the shins forward, widening through the chest. Then exhaling to release, bringing the sit bones towards the floor. Good. So I'm simply going to take the body weight forward. You might have to press into the hands to come into a squat pose. I'll stay side on so that you can see the different shapes that we make. So generally when we come into a squat pose, most of us can't quite get the heels on the floor. That's probably the more natural position to be in. I think because I'm a hobbit, I can get my heels down. There's something odd about me. But what it does tend to do is, if I don't work very hard, I find that my upper body really curves into this space. So let's think about, again, finding that strong diagonal. So the core is supporting the spine. We're lifting clean up from the thighs. And I'm going to come onto the balls of the feet because that's where we kind of mostly are. Beautiful. So we're finding a little bit of balance. Oh, Sue, don't do this if it's going to give you any. She's like, well, I can't hover about here with my bad ankle, forget it. Extend both arms forward. So that's kind of giving you a little bit of balance. Bring the thumbs together in an interlock. And we're still just focusing on balance, on core. Good, nice. I want you to keep the heels up and I want you to think about the breath pattern. So exhale to draw the tummy button in. As you inhale, push into the balls of the feet, lift yourself up and lift the arms overhead, but we're keeping the heels up off the floor. Good. Now, as you exhale, draw the tummy button in, come back down into the squat, but we're keeping those heels up. So it's quite a lot to think about, but the focus is you don't want to fall over. That's the key. So make sure the heels remain up. Inhale to lift. Exhale to lower. Inhale to lift. Exhale to lower. Inhale to lift. Exhale to lower. Your knees are complaining now. One more lift on an inhale. Now you can bring your heels to the floor. Yes, thank you for that. Wonderful. So we'll come back to a standing position. We're all different when we do our squats, so just have a look down. If your feet are very wide apart, let's just bring the insides of the feet parallel. Make sure the heels are under the hips. Draw the tummy button in. Then as you exhale, ease over to the right side. As you inhale, lift back to center. Then exhale, ease to the opposite side. Inhale to lift, come back to center. Beautiful. We're going to widen the arms, turning the palms up towards the ceiling. And then we're just going to step the feet apart. Turn the toes out so that your big toe is pointing towards the corner of your mat, if you've got your mat configured the same way as me. A little bit of softness in the knees. Beautiful. Inhale, lift the arms up, overhead. Think about that squat shape again. As you exhale, we're rolling the knees out, bringing the hands in front of the heart. And just take a little look at your own, either the mini picture in your screen or have a look down at your own knees. In an ideal world, the heels will be at a 90-degree angle underneath the knees. I can see on the screen that some of you, the heels are a little bit close for here and the knees are quite turned out. And that puts quite a lot of pressure on the knee joints. So we're coming into this 90-degree angle. Inhale to lift up. Exhale to ease back down. Good. Inhale to lift up. Exhale to ease back down. Now we've got it. Inhale to lift up. This time as you ease back down, you might have a visual reference somewhere that's behind you that you can maybe see that you can come to sit onto that space behind you. Gloria, you've got a sideboard right behind you. I want your bum planked right on that sideboard. Oh, how low can you go? It's a bit like the limbo. That's it. I can tell by your lovely smiles that you're enjoying this. Then inhale, lift, come back to center. Good, brilliant work. Bring the hands onto the hips. Just adjust the position of the feet. So rather than the toes turning out, we're going to make them like tram lines facing forward. Keeping the knees nice and soft. Then on and out breath, coming only to 90 degrees, hinging forward. Back of the head lining up with the back of the hips. Nice. Shoulder blades drawn together. Checking in with the knees if there's any pulling there, soften. Then press the sit bones to the back of the room and extend the sternum a little further forward. So we're not going any lower. We're just fine-tuning the space at the back of the hamstring. Now resetting the hands, wrapping the hands around the elbows, taking a bend on the right knee and bringing the forearms parallel to the floor as you lean to that right side. So you might be getting a deeper stretch to the inside of the left thigh. Exhale, draw the tummy button in, shift the body weight over to the left side. Beautiful. I'm going to be picky when we come back to the right. Realign the back of the head with the back of the tailbone so we don't have curvature in the spine. And then just swiftly transition back to the left. Good. Then come back towards center. Let's place both hands onto the floor or towards the floor. So if you can't quite reach, if you have a brick or a block, you might want to use something just to bring your hands towards the floor. You can either use it in the highest position, you can use it in the lower position, and then over time, you might be able to get the palms onto the floor. We're always keeping the back of the knees soft, then walking the hands a little further forward, elbows nice and soft, pushing the sit bones to the back of the room, and now bringing the ears to rest between the upper arms. Lifting the tailbone, just finding this space. Lovely shapes, very good. Then as you exhale, keep the tummy button engaged, Walk the hands back to that space under the shoulders. Bring the hands onto the thighs. I'm going to suggest that we bend the knees, so we're really taking the pressure out of the lower back, pushing into the thighs, lifting the chest, then lifting back to standing. Lovely. Perfect. I'm going to move these bricks out of your eye line. So we're now going to turn the right toe to face towards your wall on the right side. Perfect. So what naturally happens as soon as we turn the toe, the hips kind of want to follow. So we ended up in this kind of twisted position. So although the usual teaching point is that we're always facing the way we're going, these standing postures are the one exception to the rule. So we bring the hips to face the front of the room again. So that toe is still pointed out. Because we've warmed up the inner thigh, because we've found this space in the hip, we find it a little bit more comfortable to come into this space. If we're struggling a little bit at the top of the thigh, if you feel that you're leaning into the space, try taking the foot a little wider. So take that right foot further away, effectively spreading the legs a little more, because I can guarantee you we've always got much more space in the inner thigh than we give ourselves credit for. I just like to glance down and make sure that the back foot is in a straight line, it's kind of stoppered, and that the heel of the front toe is halfway in line with that back foot. So it's kind of like a T shape. For now, I'm just going to get you to hold on to that left hip. It's going to give us a little bit of discipline because the left hip's going to want to drift forward. For now, soften the front knee. It doesn't have to come into a big bend, just soften it. And then roll the knee over the second toe. So making sure that it's lining up with the second toe. My knee's a bit naughty and tends to roll in. And then we're just going to pull that leg straight again. So drawing the thigh up, avoiding locking the knee out, pulling that left hip back so that the hips are directly underneath the shoulders, then widening the arms. Perfect. Now we're starting to wobble a little bit in the inner thighs. That's good. It means we're doing the right thing. On the out breath, extend the fingertips of the right hand and we're leaning past that big toe. So the head can stay upright. So Veronica, you're kind of here somewhere. That's it. It's effectively like an extension. So it's only the side of the rib cage, the chest that's moving. Then on an out breath, we can bring the right hand down to rest, usually in front of the calf is more comfortable. Bring the left hand straight up and again look up to the middle finger of that left hand. If that's making you dizzy, you can always look to the floor. But when you do, just be aware that your shoulder will probably rock forward as a result. On an out breath, you might be able to come in a little deeper to this. Linda Butler, you'll know what I mean when I say that your hips are just ever so slightly out of alignment. I've just got your right hip pushing a little further back than it maybe wants to. That's it. Open the chest a little more, good. Come a little deeper. Nice. Then as you exhale, draw the tummy button in. We're going to keep this leg quite long as we come back to center. Good work. This time the palms turn down towards the floor, but still that straight line fingertip to fingertip. Bending that front knee again, rolling the knee over the second toe. But let's avoid, if we can, leaning or traveling into that front leg. So stay here in center. And then as you exhale, bring the sit bones down. So we're not traveling forward, we're going down. So you'll know you're doing it right because this will start to quiver. The underside of the front thigh will start to let you know that it's quite hard work. Then on an out breath, simply take the right forearm to the right thigh, lift the left arm up. Beautiful. On an inhale, we're opening through the chest. So we're bringing that left hand behind the hip, looking up to the fingertips of the right hand. So exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, This time on the inhale, coming back to the warrior two. And again, we'd very much like to see the underside of that thigh lining up with the straight lines behind you. Sue Kerner, I think your bottom basket in your cooker's too low. Go for the one above. Then as you exhale, draw the tummy button back in, pull that leg back to center, turn the toe to the front of the room, and we'll simply work through the feet so that the left toe is now facing away. Fab. So we're going to do the triangle on the opposite side. So again, just check that we've roughly got that T shape going on, the back of the front heel lining up with the halfway in line with the back foot. I'm soft in the knee for now to remind myself to get over that second toe, using the hand to draw the right hip back, then widening, lengthening that front leg. So let's take the bend out the knee. That's it, straighten, good work. Go wider if you think you need to. And then we're extending the chest. Remember, we're not taking the whole body over. We're kind of leading with the fingertips, wrist over the ankle. Making sure that this right hip doesn't fall forward. We want to keep it nice and open so that when we swing the left hand down, we can bring the right hand up and look up towards the fingertips. Nice. Linda, perfect on that side. We've all got one dominant side that just feels a little more comfortable. Then on and out breath, come a little deeper. And it won't surprise you to learn that this posture is called triangle pose or Trikonasana in its proper Sanskrit. You can see how many triangle shapes we're making. Then as you exhale, use the core to lift back to center. Widen the arms. Coming into a 90-degree angle on the front knee. But remember, the emphasis isn't to travel, it's to lower down. Watch that travel. Hips and shoulders facing forward. Think about actually toggling physically that right hip back. Good. If you can keep the hips open, then we come into the Parsvottanasana. It just feels much more natural. We don't feel as if we're forcing the hip. That's it. Inhaling to lift up. Exhaling to ease forward. So we've got a bend on the left knee. We're bringing the left forearm onto that thigh. Extending through the fingers of the right hand. Beautiful. I always do this at quite a pace, but it doesn't do us any harm to get the heart rate up. Inhale to lift back to center. This time on the exhale, releasing back down into your warrior two, adjusting the hips and the shoulders again. Our warriors are very gentle, so soft in the face. We're a bit like this. Nice and relaxed. Carolyn was like, that was so aimed at me. Turn the gaze over that left hand. Then push down into that left leg, straighten the left leg. Inhale, lift the arms up overhead. Exhale, bring the hands to heart. Turn both toes towards the front of the room again. So we're stoppering. Hands onto the hips, exhale, hinge forward. Come through that center line, that 90 degrees, bringing the palms to the floor. And I'll bet that after that little sequence, this forward fold just feels a little more comfortable. You might be able to get the elbows to the floor. You might be able to bring the top of the head to the floor. It's not a competition, it's just somewhere to perhaps rest. Then when you're ready, reposition the hands underneath the shoulders. Particularly if you've had your head down, we're just going to make sure that we keep the gaze forward of the fingers. And before we come to standing, I'm just going to heel toe the feet a little closer together. When we do that sequence, we tend to get wider and wider. Big old bend in the knees. Bring the hands onto the thighs, but keep looking down at that point in the floor where your hands were. Exhale to draw the tummy button in. Push into the thighs. Keep looking down as you straighten the legs to stand up. Keep looking down. Then lift the gaze and step the feet together. Ooh, that feels nice. Inner thighs are singing a little, aren't they? Lift both arms up overhead. Let the right hand take hold of the left wrist. Come over the midline of the body. Inhale back to center. Opposite hand to opposite wrist. So you're kind of using the hand to lengthen the arm, then coming over and releasing. Inhaling again back to center. Hands again on the hips. I'm just going to turn side on so you can see the shape. This time we're keeping the heels under the hips so we're not wide, and we're just going to release the lower back a little. So 90-degree angle. I promise you that if you can stand that extra stretch on the back of the hamstrings, it will feel nice in the lower back. Push the sit bones to the back of the room. Keep the knees soft rather than locking out. And then if you need to take more of a bend in the knees, then by all means do so. On the next out breath, we're going to bring the belly to rest onto the thighs. We're just going to tuck the hands underneath the toes. So palms facing up, thumbs in towards one another. Big old bend in the knees as the belly flops onto the thighs. That doesn't sound very yogic, does it? With your belly flopping onto your thighs, but you get the picture. Nod the chin under. Hang in here just to let the lower back sort itself out. Then slide the hands out from under the feet, reposition the palms onto the thighs. Exhale, draw the tummy button in, rolling up through the spine, a bit like a cat stretch. Keep looking down at the toes again, then roll the shoulders back and down. Oh, delicious, delicious, delicious. So the standing postures obviously have created quite a lot of strength in the inner thighs, in and around the butt, a little bit in the lower back. So I just want to make sure that we take any fatigue, any tension out of those areas. And I want to make sure that your shoulders now feel nice and soft. So we'll just take a moment to draw the shoulders up towards the ears, shrug the shoulders away, then draw little circles with the shoulders. Bend the elbows to rest the hands onto the shoulders. So we're using the elbows to draw wider circles. So we're really opening into that space across the chest, into the middle back. Then extend both arms up. Bring the right hand forward as you take the left arm back. So we're doing opposite circles. Or if you prefer, just swim the channel, because that's what it looks like from here. A little bit of backstroke going on. And then just when your brain thinks it's figured it out, I'm going to trick you all and do the opposite. So opposite arm forward, opposite arm back. Beautiful. It's like disco dancing on a Friday night. Bring the palms together into an Anjali Mudra. Again, all the tension out the shoulders, so just bring the hands back to the heart. Let's feel that almost like horizontal line with the wrists together, the elbows drawn apart. Beautiful. Then on the next out breath, just let it all go. Give it a little shaky shake. And then I'll bring you down onto the floor. And because I'm mindful that when we do all these side stretches, what it flags up for us is that most of us have got one side that's tighter than the other. So now that you're back to standing, you'll probably feel that just one side of your lower back just feels a little bit more niggly than the other. So rather than keep us in that kind of like, mode, I just want to ease it out before we do the Shavasana. So if you're feeling a bit chilly, if you want to, you can pull on socks and a fleece now, because we won't be doing anything else standing. I'll do a gentle twist that will release that tension on the hips. And then we'll just go straight into our final Shavasana. So the shape we're going to make when we come down onto the floor, and you might want to just watch this for a second because it's not That's straightforward. If I face my feet to you, you'll probably see it better. So we're going to do the T shape with the arms. We effectively start by lifting the bottom from the floor, and then I'm just going to be a little bit technical and take your hips over to the right. So as you can see, I've just squished the bottom over, then lower that onto the floor. Bring the right leg up and over, and then we'll bring that knee over to the left side, turning the gaze over the right arm. So normally we would just kind of go from center and drop the knees. I just want to go a little bit deeper because I know that I've kind of moved things about a little bit in the back of the hips. So come into that bent knee position. Widen your arms, palms turned up to the ceiling. And we're not going to rush this. The first thing we want to do is, because we've done all that sort of warrior two arms, we don't want to feel as though we're holding the arms up again. So turn the palms up to the ceiling and let the shoulders really rest back to the floor. Sue Kerner, I'm only sitting up so that I can see it. If you're more comfortable lying down. Yeah, so if you lie on your back and widen your arms. It's just if I'm lying on my back saying, I can't see what you're doing. So as I showed you a moment ago, we're literally just going to lift the bottom off the floor. It's only an inch, it's a little skim. It's not a big back bend or anything. And then we're just going to push the hips over to the right side. So the whole of the bottom moves to the right and then it relaxes on the floor. Then you'll bring the right foot up and over. And then I'm just going to suggest that if you actually rest the ankle on the top of the thigh, because actually it's more like cross leg from what I'm looking at here. That's it, that's it. And then bring that right knee over the midline of the body. You might be able to get it all the way down to the left side, you might not. We're just going as far as our back will allow us. So don't push anything, don't crunch anything. And then the function of us having the arms wide reminds us to keep the shoulders equally touching the floor. And we're just going to turn the head along the length of, where have we gone, right? The left arm. Beautiful. Now, if you've found that you've been able to bring your knees quite far over, you might want to use the opposite hand to just apply a little bit of extra pressure onto the side of the thigh. I wouldn't do that if you still feel that your knees are quite high, because clearly there's something in your back is resisting it, so we don't need to add extra pressure. It's just for those of you that just feel a little more comfortable in this posture. There's no point in undoing all the good by twanging something now. Lovely. Now this is a yin yoga posture. So it's the kind of posture that if you wish to, you could hang around in this posture for maybe 10 minutes on each side. The longer that you're in this type of posture, the more space you find, the more you release tension. Sue Kerner, you're just taking your knees the wrong way. If you go over towards your cooker rather than towards me, keep that leg up and over. So the right foot, that's the way. That'll feel brand new now. Feels very odd if you go the wrong way. Then if you've used the hand to just apply that pressure, just take the hand off the thigh first. Remind yourself to engage the core because we're moving the whole weight of the legs back to center. It didn't feel off when we went the first time, but you'll really notice how far over to the right your hips are. So when you take that foot off, bring yourself back to center. So kind of shuffle the bottom back to the middle. And then we'll shuffle the bottom to the opposite side. So we're taking the bum to the left now. That's it. Then bringing the left leg up and over. That's it. And then we're taking that knee over. So don't do the same side, go to the opposite side. That's it. Lovely. And just remember that point of if you've kind of got the legs crossed, if you've got one thigh on top of the other, just slide the ankle on top of the thigh. I want to get a little bit wider into this, a little bit deeper into this. And we are holding it for a few moments. So we're just letting gravity take us away. Beautiful. I love Hazel's cats. They always come and say hello to me at this point. They're so friendly. Beautiful. See, you don't need me rattling on. You just need to be in the zone, finding your own space, sending the breath to where it needs it. Then if you've chosen to use the hand to apply extra pressure, I'd just say take that hand away now. Once more, engage the core. And then gently roll the knees back towards center. Unhook that left leg. Remember, we're still a little bit off center, so just bring the hips back to center again. And I'd say that 9 times out of 10, a nice drawing the knees in towards the chest and having a little rock and roll from one side to the other will just rebalance any little bit of tenderness in the lower back. Everyone feel good? Good, we like thumbs up, that's good. International Sign Language, brilliant. Okay, so because I feel now that I've created that space in the lower back, I'll sort of mention the time to you. It's now 2:39. We did start a little bit late because a couple of people had just a bit of a problem getting on, but I'm always very respectful of people's time. If you need to pop off now, then by all means feel very welcome to do so. Otherwise, if you're happy to stay with us, we'll just take you into the final Shavasana now. So in your Shavasana pose, remember, I don't particularly need to see you, so don't worry about adjusting. The key is that you feel comfortable, that you feel supported. And if you're not feeling it today to lie on your back, then don't lie on your back. You must go with what feels right for you. If all that work on the back means that you'd be more comfortable to bend the knees, then by all means do so. I'm actually going to do an active guided meditation today. So what that means is I'll be kind of asking you to put a little bit of pressure in the body, then take it all away, then put a little bit of tension and take it all away. So I guess if you just listen to the cues on the breath, the biggest key is not to hold the breath and just kind of go with the flow. So as you allow your body to become more comfortable, as you give yourself permission to relax and to lengthen, bring your awareness to the breath and slow the breath down. We're just going to take a moment to scan the body from head to toe, almost as though you're bringing that positive energy, that nourishing inhalation down through the length of your body. Then we're just going to hang around at the feet with your full focus on the feet. Start this active meditation by spreading and separating your toes. So you want to feel the tension in your feet. Now flex your toes in towards your knees, feeling that tension build in the lower leg. And it's okay to be aware of that tension, but remember to mindfully breathe steadily in and out. Then let the toes and the feet relax. Let go of any tension in the lower legs. Return to stillness. Return to that soft, deep breath. Now take your mind's awareness to the thigh muscles. Visualize the muscles at the front of the thigh tightening. Take care not to lock the knee. Tighten the muscles at the back of the thigh. And then feel yourself squeezing the buttocks tight. As we hold onto this tension in the thighs and the buttocks, try to ensure that you're not holding the breath. Then gently let the thigh and the buttock muscles release. And feel the hip joint open and soften.
Feel the whole of the legs relax and release. And once more, return to that sense of being still, that steady rhythm of the breath. Deepen the inhalation, lengthen the exhalation. And feel the breath all the way down to the belly. On your next out breath, draw the abdominal muscles in tightly towards the backbone, engaging the core. Just keep the breath natural, keep the breath steady, and visualize drawing the sides of the tummy in towards the waist. Feel the muscles of the lower back tighten. As you're aware of this tightening, this tension, it's almost like the feeling of a corset around the center of the body. And rather than holding the breath, breathing steadily in and out. Then when you're ready, completely release the tension in these muscles, feeling the center of the body, fully relax and let go. Return again to that sense of stillness, breathing softly and deeply. Tuning in now to the upper body. Focus your awareness on the shoulders, on your upper back. Squeeze the shoulders up towards the ears. Feel the tension increase in the muscles of the upper back at the back of the neck. Again, avoid holding the breath. Then when you're ready, let these muscles go and release. Lengthen the ears away from the shoulders, almost as though you're stretching the neck. Feel the chin tucking towards the body. Feel the muscles in between the shoulder blades drawing downwards and tightening. So you're very aware of the chest being opened, the upper back contracted. Remain aware of this tension, breathing steadily. Then release, fully let go. Now focus your awareness on the muscles of the arms. If your hands are rested on your tummy, widen the arms, extend the arms and tense all the muscles in the upper and lower arms, keeping the breath steady, then clenching the fists to increase the tension. Hold onto that tension in the hands and the arms. Then as you come to your next out breath, allow the muscles to release and to fully let go. Spread the fingers, open up the hands. Extend the fingers as far away from the shoulders as you can. Stay aware of the tension in the muscles of the hands and the arms. Keep the breath steady. Then release and let go. Allow the arms to soften and relax by your side. And once more, we'll just bring the whole body back to stillness. That steady rhythm of the breath. Bringing your full awareness now to the face and to the head. Open your mouth wide. Feel the tension around the mouth and the jaw. Keep the breath steady. Then release and let go, allowing the jaw to relax. Wiggle the jaw a little. Stick out your tongue. Then allow it to relax back into the well of the mouth. Feel the tongue soften. The mouth and jaw are relaxed. Aware of that breath, steady. Wriggle your nose. Then release. Keeping your eyes closed, feel the eye sockets open. Then release. Move the muscles in the forehead, scrunching those eyebrows into a frown. Drawing the lips together, making your face as small as you can, squeezing it tight, keeping the breath steady. Then as you exhale, fully release and let that go. Enjoy that lovely sensation of all the muscles of the face, soft and release. Now for one last time, tighten the whole body. Extend your head and toes and fingers as far away from each other as you can. Hold that tension in your body for a moment. Then when you're ready, release and let it go. Just feel any tension melting into the floor beneath you. Take a deep breath in through the nose. Exhale with an audible sigh. And repeat this as many times as you feel necessary to release, to let go. Focus on coming to the end of each full breath. Slower, deeper. Enjoying the sensation of your body still, your mind quiet, and restoring some balance with the body and the breath. Remind yourself of that deep yogic breath, inhaling to the belly, the chest, and the collarbones. Exhaling from the collarbones, the chest, and the belly last. Almost as though you're filling a balloon from the bottom up, emptying that balloon from the top down. Sending oxygenated blood to every cell in your body. Filling your body with positive energy. Recharging your batteries. Now start to become aware again of your space within this room. Feel the back of your body as it connects with the earth beneath you. Feeling the energy from the earth rise up through your body, recharging, re-energizing, reawakening. Begin now to make little awakening movements. Perhaps drawing the feet a little closer together. Maybe wiggling fingers and toes. Perhaps creating little circles with the wrists at the ankles. If you wish, taking a long stretch through the body. If you prefer, hugging the knees to the chest. And again, repeating that gentle rock from one side to the other, paying special attention to those muscles of the lower back that work so hard in our standing postures today. Then when you feel ready, roll to the side that feels most natural to you, pausing there for a moment to blink the eyes open. Returning once more to a comfortable, seated position. Then returning to an Anjali Mudra. Touch to the head for kind thoughts, to the lips for kind words, and to the heart for kind intentions. The light in me honours the light in you. Namaste. So I'll just remind you that you're all still on mute.